Hey, 20 somethings. It's me, Liv, and welcome back to 20 something. Today's episode, I kid you not, is my favorite one that we have recorded so far. And there's so many reasons why this has been my favorite one. But if you have ever felt like you are doing all of the right things, and that can be therapy, journaling, exercise, eating right, meditation, whatever it may be, and you still feel stuck, this is for you. Today, we're talking with Kelli Houghton Anderson, and she is the author of a book called Walk With Me, a trauma therapist's journey transforming trauma into hope and healing. And what is so cool about Kelli is she's not just someone who is writing at you, she has lived what processing trauma actually looks like. And I learned in this episode that trauma does not mean, a car accident or something super devastating. I mean, that can be trauma, but trauma is the moments where you are registering that you are acting, maybe a little too intensely, or you're feeling a little too numb and you don't know why you're doing that in certain situations. She talks about how to actively get yourself out of that mindset and how to rewire your brain to move forward in positive, hopeful ways. We talk about what healing actually looks like in your 20s, the patterns that show up when you have trauma that you previously haven't dealt with, and how to be gentle with yourself as healing doesn't feel linear. And also how to feel hope again, no matter where you are, no matter if you're in the complete depths of it where you think your situation will never change, or maybe things are starting to look lighter. So whether you are on a walk, getting ready for the day, or driving around in your car, thank you so much for being here with us. I am so grateful to spend this next hour with you, and let's get into it. Wait, are we recording? I am so excited to have Kelli Houghton Anderson with us today. She is a licensed trauma therapist, owner of her own practice. You were telling me a little bit before this, worked with the United Nations, and essentially it just seems like you have been
very diverse background professionally.
Which is so amazing. And she just wrote this wonderful book. It was published in April. It's called Walk With Me, a trauma therapist's journey, where you talk about your own trauma journey, and there's a workbook coming
up. And the second part of the title is Transforming Trauma into Hope and Healing. And that's the focus of the book. Is I want to walk with whoever's reading this book, that they're going to transform their trauma into hope and healing.
Yeah.
And the workbook that's coming out with it is very practical ways that can be done, the practicing of how to do that.
Yeah. So Kelli, for the people who have chosen, to spend an hour or so with us today, what things about their life and relationship and process with trauma is going to change based on our conversation today?
So hopefully those who are listening, if they've experienced trauma, that they will feel that they're empowered in actually transforming the trauma. So a lot of times we think it can be just a natural healing process, but it really isn't. It's very intentional. So an example I could give in regards to physical. So if I was in a car accident, I shattered my leg. There are very practical things that I have to do to heal that body, heal my leg in a proper, healthy way, right? And that is going to a doctor. It is doing the physical therapy. It's applying maybe medicines that I need to apply. And that's the same with mental health. It's very intentional in applying the tools. And I hope that that's one of the takeaways is like, I'm going to be in control of the story. And here's what I'm going to do to get to the transformation and to live a more peaceful, hopeful, joyful life. And so that's within your power to do that.
This book is so deeply personal. I think that's implied in the title, Walk With Me. What made you decide to turn your story outward?
So it came about so I've had childhood trauma, but after I had an adult serious trauma, I realized that I had a unique perspective that majority of people will never have. And that is that I've experienced trauma in many different spaces as a trauma therapist and a social worker out in the field. But also I was in a trauma applying everything that I had taught everybody else what to do and what that feels like being on the inside of it. And does it work or doesn't it work?
Interesting.
And so through that process, I just realized that I had information that I really believed could help others in their healing process.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start from square one. What are the signs when someone might be dealing with an unprocessed trauma? Because I'm just replaying my own life in my head, and I'm thinking there's probably a lot of things that I have not even begun to work through, but sometimes it's hard to know, first off, to identify them, but just even where to start with it.
So it's an intriguing thing for me to watch other people, because I think most people actually are acting and interacting based on past traumas. And when I say a trauma, it doesn't have to necessarily be like some huge event. It really is any event in your life that has shifted your mindset from being a positive mindset to a negative mindset. So meaning as soon as you have shifted from like, I'm enough, I'm safe, to I'm not enough, I'm not safe, that shift from positive to negative, a negative event happened that now changed the way you're interacting with the world.
I feel like I need to paste that on a billboard on I-15. I've never heard trauma defined that way, because when I think of trauma, I think of like a car accident, like a huge cancer, thing, right? Like and I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks is you go through these things and it's really easy to justify it as like, that just wasn't that big. That wasn't that deep. I don't need to, but what a simple, can you say that again?
Yes. So, and I'll give an example actually. Yeah. So with that being said, like what's happening with people when they don't understand when they have shifted into the negative mindset, once you have that, like, I'm not safe, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I've done something wrong. When you're functioning in that mindset, you're much more overreactive. You're much more defensive. You're engaging in the world like the world is against you or someone's against you, or you're trying to prove something. I'm feeling
called out. Like I'm like very actively, it's easy to see, especially defensive and overreactive.
Yes.
Anyways, that's
and that is based on something in your brain that has programmed you. It's a trauma response, actually. So I can actually, as I'm interacting with people or clients, or if someone's overreacting or underreacting to something, we call it out of the window of tolerance. So the window of tolerance means no matter what's coming at me, I should be able to deal with it in a pretty even, pretty calm, just regulated way. If I go up, meaning I'm anxious, I'm angry, you feel that like, that intensity.
Yes.
Or you go the opposite, where you go into withdrawal and you detach. All of those responses outside of the window of tolerance are trauma responses, meaning your brain has somehow been programmed that you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, meaning those anxiety responses.
Yeah.
So an example of a small one would be, so in this example is given in The Body Keeps the Score, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
I love that. Sometimes it stresses me out, but I do love it.
Yes. No, and it is a lot of information, right? But it talks in that book about even little events that have shifted someone. So for instance, an executive CEO that's on stage all the time presenting, still getting anxiety going on the stage, the why behind it. And it can actually be traced, perhaps like in this example, to a childhood memory of being in elementary school, giving a book report for the first time and seeing kids in the back laughing. The brain at that point programmed, when I stand on a stage, something negative is going to happen. So from here on out, my brain, every time I get on the stage, is going to be in a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage.
So in this situation, would that executive continue to feel that anxiety no matter how many times he gets on the stage?
Yeah, until he processes the trauma.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And it is amazing to shift it back. And I've just worked with so many clients now where I see where you can shift it back, but you have to do the work. You have to recognize the origin of where it's actually coming from.
Yeah.
Like why are you feeling that way? And when did the brain get programmed to respond that way to that particular type of incident or situation that you're in? It's very intriguing. Once you really understand it, you can really question it all the time. Like, why am I feeling overreactive and where's the origin?
I think I'm doing that right now. I'm thinking of a situation this morning that I was overreacting, and in the moment I knew that I was overreacting, but I couldn't really help the fact that I was overreacting and I didn't really know. And so as you're talking, I'm trying to think, I'm like, where did that come from? And why did I do that?
So if I was with you in that moment, you're experiencing that, I would start to question, what negative belief do you have right now? And usually it falls into certain categories. One is safety, like I'm not emotionally or physically safe. A lot of times it doesn't have to be rational. It just is what the body's feeling. Or it goes into, there's something defective with me. Like I'm not important enough. I'm not good enough. It goes into, I did something wrong. Or it can shift into lack of control, meaning I'm not in control. I feel helpless. And once you identify the origin of it, then you can question that meaning, like that negative belief.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So based on what you're saying, Kelli, like for example, this morning, I'm realizing that I'm having this irrational response, right? What is, if someone is realizing that they have this active trauma that they need to process, but I mean, it would be amazing if we could just walk into therapy in that moment, right? But where do you start? Like, what is the first thing that you do?
I think the first step always is paying attention to when you recognize you're out of the window of tolerance, and start just really paying attention to it. Because I can promise you, majority of people are walking around out of the window of tolerance, are being triggered, and they're never looking at it, never questioning it. A lot of times people will just say, well, that's just who I am. I do not like that statement at all, because trauma isn't just who we are. We actually have more control over how we can respond to people, how we can engage in the world. We are so much more able to be in control of our lives than what we believe we can. Really, really believe that. And learning the tools on how to do that. So first, observe. Again, if you're feeling withdrawn, you're pulling back, or you're getting escalated, you're getting angry, and it really is not matching the scenario, pay attention to what it is you are actually really feeling about your own self. This statement of, well, they made me, or the situation made me, it's not about those things. It's about how we're interpreting the situation. Those are trauma responses, though. They're programmed from things throughout our life. So I would go to the next step, again, questioning, identifying it. I am feeling what, I am what. The next is, if they're bigger things that you feel like you're seeing a pattern a lot of the same thing, like I get irritated a lot, I can't handle a situation a lot, I'm withdrawing a lot, I would absolutely encourage people to go to therapy and understand the deeper meaning of the why, and go back to the origin of where it started. And I call it clearing it, meaning we're going to go back, really look at that situation. So say like the example we gave of the elementary school experience, to go back to that actual experience, walk it through what they really experienced, how they really felt.
Yeah.
And I'm an EMDR therapist.
I love EMDR.
Yeah. Okay. So there are certain therapies, certain interventions that are proven to be effective with trauma, and EMDR is one of them.
Yeah.
And there's some others, but I'm an EMDR therapist, so that's what I usually speak to. You know? And you can rewrite or have the brain redefine those memories so that they're more functioning in a positive way.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just say, to kind of go back and just make sure I'm hearing everything that you're saying, and I'll just expose myself here, and sorry, Mom, in advance for exposing you for this situation this morning. But so this morning, my mom just recently got remarried.
Okay.
And
congrats, Mom.
I know, we're so happy for her. They're wonderful. But my mom had sent my brother this text about this like trip that they're going on. And my brother had like called me this morning and told me about it. And my escalation of this behavior, I was like, well, why didn't she tell me? And I felt like, and I knew that as I was talking to my brother and just being, saying they're going on this whole trip and they're leaving in a week and I don't know about it. And I knew that it was irrational, but it was causing these weird feelings. Okay. So step one, I observe.
Yes. So what I love about what you recognized is how I'm responding. I'm out of the window of tolerance and it's not matching, meaning there's no fire going on. There's nothing, no one's really injured like that. I have to be in
it's
that.
like a vacation and I'm for some reason crashing out about it.
But I love this example you're using because I genuinely feel like majority of people function in this exact state and never questioning it.
Yeah.
Meaning I'm just going to be irritated. I'm just going to withdraw. I'm just going to respond in, a hyper active way of like, I'm angry or,
Yeah.
And so in that situation, what I would then first, you identified, I'm out of the window of tolerance.
Yeah. Which shout out to my brother. He did call me out and he was like, why are you freaking out about this?
Okay. So, and good for him to do that.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, but what are you really feeling? So in a situation like that, a lot of times where we'll start is she didn't tell me. We put it on someone else. Well, their action is what's causing this. And it's not a true statement. You're reacting because you're feeling something. So I would go, okay, what were you feeling? Were you feeling not important, not valued? Were you feeling like, what was it you were feeling?
Interesting. I think that it's been like hard having my mom move away and it's like felt a little, like I've just felt a little more disconnected into like what's going on like in her life. And it's been a little like little things where I just feel like I'm not, it's just a family dynamic shift, right? It's just been different.
Yes. So,
but good, different. Mom, I love you. And Jim, you're awesome.
No, and you know what I love about this example you're using though, is a lot of times we do have that conflict of something good can be happening, but we're still having some reaction because we genuinely are feeling something.
Yeah. And then you feel guilty. Like I feel really guilty for feeling that way at all. And so I almost feel like I don't have the right to talk about it or deal with it.
Yeah. But with that, and this is the thing, we always want to acknowledge how a body is feeling though, because we're human, we have emotions, our body is going to feel things, even if logically we know something different. So in that scenario, if I was to guess some options for you would be, I feel not as important, but it also could go to, I'm not in control. I feel helpless because if I did, my mom would be closer. Yeah. I would be more involved in her life. Yeah. Not blaming her for any of the things that are going on, but your natural body desire would be to have that.
Which makes sense. Okay. So we observe and then we question and then we name. What do you do then to bridge the gap from like moving forward in a more positive way?
So, and I love that you said to name it because we say that to name it is to tame it, right? And,
I like that.
And so a lot of times you can journal it, to name it is to tame it, but you're actually putting words on it and you're actually saying, okay, I understand now I'm feeling. So of those things I said, which one resonated the most with you? If it was, I'm not valued, I'm not important, or is it like, I can't get what I want. Feel helpless. I'm not in control. And it really has nothing to do with your mom. It just has to do with your own life experience.
Yeah, I think it probably is a little bit of the control aspect for me.
So, yeah, because I'm remarried, I have my kids. I'm sure they would feel similar things. And even me, like sometimes a scenario is just complicated and you're trying to make the most of it, but life can still feel out of control or you're not getting exactly what you want because in this situation, maybe you want your mom living next door to you. Yeah. And your body is wanting something different than what life is presenting. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's bad, but your body is responding and you have to be true to that. So the logical thing is to talk yourself out of it like you were trying to do. It's like, it's all good, whatever.
It doesn't work.
You have to acknowledge my body is feeling this way and I have to be fair to what that feeling is. So, but once you name it, like you just did of I'm not in control. I feel helpless with this situation is then you look at that piece and you're like, okay, why do I feel that way? And it could be, I feel that way because life has had so many changes and it doesn't look exactly what I thought maybe it would look at 27 years old or however.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
27.
how old you are. Okay.
27.
And that my body is not matching what I thought would be what it would be at this point.
Yeah.
But you're going to start just looking at it and questioning it, maybe journaling it.
Yeah.
The more you're doing that and identifying it, you'll be more in control of the future responses, meaning you'll be quicker to feel that and then be like, okay, what am I feeling? And I'm going to honor that feeling because I understand where it's coming from. Now I'm going to question it.
Yeah. And that is fascinating. It's really seems like rewiring your brain a little bit, because we talk about this all the time on this podcast. So many of our listeners, me all the time, in your 20s, I think you constantly are overcoming this hurdle of my life does not look what I thought it would, career, relationship, whatever it may be. And I think we waste a lot of time, marinating on that versus being like, okay, these are the tools that are actually going to allow me to see that for what it is and then move forward differently.
Well, and I think that's what's really interesting. And I think the younger generation has so many more tools than like my generation or generations before. I mean, even in my generation, like PTSD, it wasn't even ever talked about. It wasn't really even identified until the 80s, like what it really is.
Wow.
And now, especially the newer generation, you guys, I mean, goodness, I have young adults. I've had teens and young adults come into my office that have learned things and taught me that they're learning on podcasts or they're learning in ways that we never had access to. Mental health was never talked about like it's talked about right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this newer generation or the younger generations to be able to have the tools. I think if you guys apply them, much better situation than maybe the prior generations. Without the same time, though, we do know that, teens, 20s, 30s, there's a lot higher anxiety, depression, isolation than ever before, too.
Yeah.
So we need these tools to started to be applied.
Yeah. But I love that outlook. I think that's really important because you hear a lot about how high anxiety, depression, loneliness, all of those things. But on the flip side, it's like we have more tools than we ever have before.
So much more knowledge, like even how the brain works with trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness, even since I've been a therapist, like the technology now that we see, like the brain, how trauma interacts with the brain, the studies that are being done that have never been done before that we're starting to understand and starting to understand how you can rewire the brain.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do the work.
Yes. And that's what it comes down to. Right. But I like that all of those steps, those are very actionable things. And I also really liked how you said, the more you do it, the faster you get.
You keep retraining your brain on how to do it quicker and quicker and quicker.
And that's something that every listener that I can start doing tonight. Right. The next time I feel that way. And I mean, doing that takes 30 seconds in your brain. Yeah. And I mean, man, if whenever I realize I'm getting out of that window of tolerance, just to be able to quickly do that, I think is such a game changer. Yeah.
And even with other people in your life, you can say, if you see like them escalating or withdrawing, the question is, what are you really feeling? It's not about, I'll give an example of this. Okay. 2 people could pass away. Right. And one person is very neutral. Like it doesn't bother us at all. The other one, it does bother us. It would be like a family or friend. The reason why this one, the family or friend, affects us is because we're feeling something, right? Yeah. So we're feeling like we're not getting the story we want. Life feels out of control. Yeah. Because if it was in control and I was able to make decisions and get what I want, this person would still be here. Yeah. So it's not even really about the passing. It's about what we're feeling, if that makes sense. So you can have, as soon as you're the one having the reaction, it's because something is happening within you. Wow. If that makes sense. I know it's an interesting concept, but once you start paying attention to it, you'll understand how much is happening in your life. Yeah. So if somebody else is having a reaction, the question is, there's two thoughts you can go to. One is, what is it you really are feeling that are you scared? Are you not feeling important? Are you what is it? Yeah. One of the other questions, if someone gets overreactive, that you can always ask is, what are you afraid of? Like, what are you fearing?
Interesting. What power, like for the parents listening to this podcast, or even, you know, as your friends, being able to equip yourself with those in your toolkit of what are you really feeling? Like, I think in those moments where someone is acting very heightened, to basically just have a cutthroat question that's right to the core. Or what was the second one you said?
What are you afraid of?
What are you afraid of?
Yeah. What are you afraid of? What is the fear?
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of times we are functioning because we're afraid of something, whether it's abandonment or neglect, or I'm not important. I'm afraid that I'm not that important. I'm afraid that I'm not in control over this.
Yeah.
Like,
even asking yourself those questions, I think in that moment. But there's so many times the people that I love in my life, like being able to ask them that question in that moment, I think would be,
and us helping each other to recognize that. Once you identify all that, you can really pull the emotions down.
Yeah. So for example, like this morning with my mom, right? I recognize that I'm feeling out of control, which I honestly didn't really put that together until you just named that for me. What are some of maybe like the top 10 like common emotions that people are feeling in those moments, so they better know how to name them?
Yeah, that I would. So like when I'm working with clients, like what the top 10 kind of I would hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I actually have a list right here of what we call negative cognitions, which is where your mind will the negative thoughts it'll straight go to. The ones on this I would probably hear the most would be, I'm not lovable, or I'm a disappointment. I'm different. I did something wrong. And a lot of times our bodies can go to, I did something wrong, even if we didn't do something wrong, but something in our childhood created that type of response of like, I'm always in trouble. I'm always, I'm never doing anything right. Wow. So your body can naturally just automatically go there.
Yeah.
Another one would be, I can't protect myself, meaning other people around me are controlling a situation that I can't protect. I'm powerless. I'm a failure. I'm weak. I'm not in control. Those are just different ones that you might heard. Another one could be, I can't trust. So anyone who's been abandoned, neglected.
Yeah. And you talk about these in your book. So on the other side of that, right, you have
the positive cognition.
So is it helpful so for me, example this morning saying I'm not in control, is it then helpful to name the positive right away? So what are some of those?
Okay. So the opposite of I'm not in control could be, I have choices. I am strong. I am capable. I can handle it. So in that situation, say with your mom, I'm not in control, meaning if I was in control, what would you have wanted instead?
I think maybe just like the security of knowing that even though things are different, like my relationship with my mom is still the same, or, you know, that things are like that I still have that safe place to go.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. So then that's the piece you'll walk yourself into. And then that piece then could go to, I can handle this situation, or I'm capable of navigating this relationship, even though it looks different than what we may have expected at this point for various reasons.
Yeah.
I can still manage it.
Yeah. And I'm thinking so many examples of where that's super helpful in friendships, in romantic relationships, in breakups, like just telling yourself I am capable of handling, moving through whatever it is.
Right. Or I have choices and how I'm going to handle this. So automatically you've shifted your body into the more empowerment, positive mindset that I am in control of this situation. The other response is I'm not in control. Like there's nothing I can do. And that's not a true statement. Yeah. Even though the body shifts into that.
And then every time, is it similar to what you were saying earlier of as you start to do this and you switch the negatives to positives, does that become more of your reaction?
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you go quickly to the negative, you'll pull yourself out of it faster.
And that's so empowering.
And you'll know why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
So one of the just practical things is if people, when they're driving, start feeling that frustrated feeling, I'd question, okay, was that really a dangerous situation? So if it's a dangerous situation, any dangerous situation, it's okay to go into fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what the body's for. Yes. That's what anxiety is for. But let's say we're just irritated with someone on the road. Have yourself question, what is it I'm really feeling? Why am I irritated? A lot of times it will come to, I don't feel valued, or I don't feel important, because if I did, they wouldn't have cut me off.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound reasonable when we say it, but the body does feel that way.
Yeah.
Or it could be, I'm helpless, or I'm powerless because they took the power, like they pulled in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a true statement either, because you can control the car and move somewhere else or whatever.
Yeah.
But start practicing with little things like that. And then maybe find a partner or a friend or family member that you guys together can start to see when each other is going above the window of tolerance or under the window of tolerance, meaning I'm escalating or I'm withdrawing, and then start to notice it in each other and start to practice with each other. Okay, can you label that? What is that negative belief that you're feeling right now? Yeah. If people can master this one skill, I mean, goodness, life will feel so much better.
Oh, yeah.
You can just navigate relationships, life, situations in such a more peaceful.
I'm going to start doing this tonight.
Yeah. You can create a more peaceful life, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I like the positive ones too. You can find, it seems like 2 or 3 that really resonate with you, and then keep those like on repeat.
And a lot of times people will find that they naturally will go to certain. So if I have like each client will probably tend to go to the same ones. And those are based on some childhood trauma or some negative experience that happened in their life. Yeah. So someone could be very quick to go to, I'm not lovable.
As you were reading them off, I'm like, that one's me and that one's me.
So someone naturally, say someone was abandoned by a parent when they were young, right? Mm-hmm. They can very much go to, I'm not lovable. I'm not worth something. Yeah. Because if I was, my dad would have stayed, or my mom would have showed up, or you see. So for the rest of their life, their body will be quicker to go to that messaging. Somebody can be, I am stupid. I actually hear that one quite a bit in my, with clients, is when they were growing up, they felt stupid in school. They felt someone told them they were stupid. Yeah. And so they will naturally, and I don't care if like they've gotten PhDs, they have been very successful, that childhood writing is still in the brain. Their brain will naturally go to, I am stupid. Yeah. And so it's questioning that and rewriting that messaging.
So in your book, you talk about 3 phases, the storm phase, the clearing phase, and the sunshine phase, right? Yes. Walk us through them. What is the storm phase?
So, and I came up with these phasing actually. So these have not been in the therapeutic world. They're ideas that I created from my own healing experience and watching other clients and watching all my clients and the phasing that they go through. So the storm phase is when you are in the middle of whatever it is. So it can be like a new health diagnosis. It can be a divorce. It can be a breakup, right? It can be a loss of a job, whatever, a natural disaster, whatever it is that has come in and just pretty much imploded your life in some way, right? Yeah. It has shifted in some way that you did not want it to shift. And so there's some pictures in the book, and I had the pictures in the book. Yes. My son, who has very good artistic skills, I asked him to draw the pictures of what I felt like.
That's cool.
So the first one is a girl is just hunkering down. A storm is raging around her, a tornado, a cow's flying in the air, because a lot of times when we're in a trauma response, the world isn't making sense. There's something that is feeling disconnected to what we think our world should look like. Yeah. So that's kind of that devastation space. Mm-hmm. The next phase, once we can kind of, once the major impact is done. So let's give an example of like a natural disaster, right? Once the tornado comes, you're hunkering down. Yeah. Then the storm kind of settles down for a minute. And then the next phase is you're going into the clearing phase of like, okay, I can get up now. There's still a lot of disaster around me, but I can start applying things. I can start cleaning up things. I can start looking for resources. I can start trying to put my life back together.
Yeah.
So that's the clearing phase. And that's when you're doing a lot of the resourcing.
Yeah.
Like the therapy. And there's a whole bunch of other resources, that you can throw at it that we know work and are effective. And then the third phase is I've done a lot of the work. I've done a lot of the cleanup and my body's starting to get back into the groove. It's really starting to heal. And then that goes into the sunshine phase, which is kind of that post-traumatic growth. I'm seeing strength in myself. Maybe I'm able to start forgiving some things. I can see a new perspective.
Yeah.
And then I can find hope, peace, and joy, and that's kind of the phasing. That's the phasing I went through. And that's the phasing I've seen so many clients go through.
How do you make the jump between phases? I'm super curious between the storm and the clearing,
right?
Because I think, you said this, when you're in the storm phase, I'm thinking of like a sky and when it's super dark and there's thunder and lightning. And sometimes in that it's hard to imagine that it will ever clear.
Yes. And I think anyone who's been, and it can be even something it doesn't have to be something totally traumatic. Anyone who's been through a breakup, for instance, it doesn't even have to be a divorce. It could be like just, a boyfriend, girlfriend situation is a breakup, but your world has shifted. It's not what you wanted.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to go into extremes in that moment. Like whether it's a breakup, right? Like, I'm never going to fall in love again or whatever it is.
There's no one out there for me.
Yes.
There's something wrong, whatever it is.
You lose a job and it's like, I'm never going to be smart enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No. And that is a super real feeling. Even though I had as a trauma therapist, and I've had a really unique perspective as a trauma therapist. I've been around the world, like developing countries. I've sat in United Nations Human Rights Council meetings where I've heard the worst of the worst. I've worked in ERs when people are coming in and their whole lives have just changed because either a death, a really tragic accident, whatever. Like, I feel like I have a really good perspective of seeing trauma and the outcome after trauma, like how people can get to the other side of their resilience. But even at that, when I went through my own trauma, I lost perspective. Like, it is hard to believe that anything different can happen, that your world has shifted so much.
Yeah.
That you can't even understand that there's hope on the other side.
Oh, I think loss of perspective is the perfect way to name that. And that's why I think it's so tricky in that moment to have the endurance or strength to get any kind of help or resources, right?
Yeah. You are kind of locked down. You feel like you don't have direction.
Yeah. It's survival. Yeah.
So an example I use in the book that I feel is a really good example is the Twin Towers, right? That went down. And I actually had a really cool perspective because I got to see the whole process of right after 9/11 and then the cleanup and then the rebuilding.
Wow.
And I think that to me is such a good image of just trauma in general. Like when I went, and I was attending meetings in New York at that time, so I was able to see the phasing every time I went out to the meetings. And so I was there after 9/11. It looked impossible, like anything could ever be put back together or cleaned up. It just seemed an immense, hopeless situation, right? But every time you went, there was something cleaned up, more cleaned up, more cleaned up. And then it finally, like, they start rebuilding. And now there's this beautiful, tower that's there. And there's these beautiful infinity ponds that are there. And the moment you were there after the trauma, you would never believe that it would end up where it is. And I have, like I said, I have a really cool job because I've gotten to witness that kind of resilience that happens over and over and over and over and over again. That is the power of humans right there. Resilience is one of the greatest gifts we were given as humans. And it plays out and hope plays out. And so when we're in that trauma phase, it is like really looking around for evidence that those things have happened. People do rebuild. People do get to the other side. So for instance, after someone who's been divorced, you look around for evidence like, oh, people do go on to find love again. And I see it here and I see it here and I see it here and I see it here. and really paying attention of finding evidence that it's true. And that's something I even had to do. I had to keep reminding myself, like, okay, I've seen so many clients get through this. I've seen history books. I've seen whatever it is. I'm like, I know it happens. So I'm going to hold on to that.
Wow.
And then going from the storm to the clearing is one of your questions. There's really no specific answer of like when that time is. You will just know, like, I think people just know, like, okay, I can get out of bed now, or the dust has settled a bit and now I can start figuring out the next pieces. You know?
Wow. That's amazing. That just like honestly made me kind of emotional. That's really, really special. I think, I think being able to take the emotions out of it just a tiny bit and maybe use a little bit more logic when you're in a place where it feels like, I don't even know if I can do this one more day, if I can carry this one more day, and just putting all of those really big emotions aside, and you look at something as devastating as 9/11 and what it is now, there's a lot of like, that's really, I think, empowering when you feel like maybe you're in a space where you don't have any power left.
Yeah. It feels helpless at times. For sure. But there's always hope. And there's goodness. Really, if you start looking around, and, you know, now we do have access to podcasts and documentaries and books, whatever it is, like, there are so many stories of resilience and rebuilding. Yeah. I mean, even after war zones, you watch cities come back to life, or disasters. You watch, and that is the human story. Right there.
And you talk about as well how healing isn't linear. Like it's a very kind of ebb and flow process. So is it just a matter of like being gentle with yourself as you kind of weave in and out of these phases throughout your life?
Absolutely. And one of the, you know, and I can speak for my own self, is even though I'm technically in the sunshine phase of, I've applied a lot of resources, I would say I'm well into the healing space on the other side. Even at that, like, I will have days where something will hit me in a certain way and I'll be pushed back a bit. And sometimes I still have to, you know, just take a moment for myself, listen to some, I call it like recovery music, or have like wrap myself in a blanket, because I'm still having some remnants of a trauma response, even though I've done all the work. Like, I have applied everything, but sometimes our bodies still remind us every now and again, like, okay, just take a moment. You have a moment, reset yourself, and then come back into the sunshine phase, you know,
like that.
But you can flow back and forth. And sometimes you have to go back to the clearing phase and apply the tools. You know, so.
Well, one thing I think that's amazing, I mean, as you're speaking, I think it's really easy to tell, you know, someone who I've been in the storm phase in my life before, it's like, oh, you get it. Like you can just tell that you get it. And how has walking through your trauma changed the way that you're able to sit with people? Because I think that's one of the most beautiful things that we forget when we go through these suffering and hard things. It's just so easy to say, let this please be over as soon as humanly possible. And I think it really can turn into one of the most valuable tools that we have of being able to sit with someone else.
Yeah. So if we had talked 5 years ago, before I say my atomic bomb, like blew up my life, right? I had some pretty significant childhood trauma, meaning like, you can do the scoring of childhood trauma and score like how serious it was.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm on the higher side of that. And I was like, oh, well, I know trauma. Like, but there was something about me experiencing as an adult where all of a sudden I was like, and I had like I'd never actually had panic attacks before. Plenty of clients who had, I actually never had until that experience. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is what my clients have talked about. I'd never crawled up in the corner of a closet before, even though I'd had pretty significant trauma in the past. I just had never experienced trauma in that way. Yeah. Plenty of clients have talked about being in the corner of a closet crying. Yeah. Just because you're looking for the smallest space to like wrap yourself in, you know? And so as a therapist now, or even as a human being, when people talk about panic attacks, they talk about trauma responses, they talk about wanting to hide, or even this idea. I had actually never, minus like, in high school, every now and again, you have this moment of like, oh, it'd be easier not to live. I never really had suicidal thoughts at all. Like it's just not been, my personality is more optimistic. I'm usually more happier, but that particular trauma, and it's amazing what can shift in our brain. All of a sudden I started thinking, I don't know if I can live anymore. Not that I had a plan or anything, but all of a sudden I realized like, wow, I can understand why people feel so just helpless, even when they have so many good things in their world. Like your brain is like, this is too much. Like I can't do this. I don't know if my brain will ever be the same. I don't know if my body will ever be the same. And, I've worked because I've specialized in working with women. Obviously, I've worked with quite a few women with sexual assault, right? And even those experiences where a girl's like, I can never be enough of anything. I can never feel good enough.
Wow.
And that feeling of desperation of like, I just will never be whole and life feels so hard to even think about living anymore. And that was an interesting perspective for me to understand like that type of despair and what that feels like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So someone who's, spending this hour or so with us and they're, yep, that's me. I'm in the storm phase or feeling these feelings. What is one thing they can do today?
Yeah. So, the nice thing is there's a collection of things people can do. So we don't all have to do exactly the same thing. Absolutely therapy. I am 100%. You and I chatted a bit about this before. I'm 100% a believer that everybody should go through therapy.
I love therapy.
Yes. It's just a way to get to know ourselves better and someone who has the tools to help us navigate that. And even as therapists, I have a therapist myself, that's helped me through the trauma phases. It's just nice to have someone walk that with you, In regards to the clearing phase, there's so many tools that can be applied. And I'm just going to throw out a few of them. Okay.
Please.
And these are all scientifically based. They're not just like some random ideas. There's actually science that these things help. So one is, doing like motivational messaging. You can do motivational messaging. So you can put messaging up on your mirror, in your car, whatever, that really helps your brain to refocus on like a hope or whatever the messaging is you need.
Is that different than affirmations or are they?
It can be similar. Okay. It can be similar. Like motivational too can be like a quote from someone that's super inspiring for you or a song or lyrics. So for me, it was like lyrics of a song that really spoke to me. And I just knew I was going to fight for this. Like with healing from trauma, it takes work. And my saying was, I'm fighting like hell for peace and joy. Like that was I was like digging deep. Like I will not give into this trauma. And I'm going to fight for this. So you have to do intentional things. So like I had motivational messaging. Music is super powerful. So I created like a recovery playlist that I would listen to that I knew connected to me in healing spaces. They're just songs that were motivating where I felt when I listened to them, I felt either calmer or I felt more empowered.
I love that. I'm going to make a recovery playlist.
And that's what I called it. Everybody else but I'm like, this is about recovery and this is and I'm focusing on that. Dancing is super powerful.
Oh,
and I love dancing. So for me, I would purposely go to concerts or I'd go to a dance place. I would dance around my living room and like crazy dancing.
Yes. I'm so white. I'm the worst dancer on the planet, but I can get behind it.
If you know that, so the science behind it is we're always looking at, so when we're in trauma response, we're usually not usually, we always are releasing chemicals in our body we do not want released. So that's like high cortisol of the stress. Sometimes there's an adrenaline that we don't want released, right? And so what we're trying to do when we're doing these other activities is actually replace those chemicals. So dancing is producing your happy chemicals in your body, and it's genuinely happening. Exercising is another one. Going into your safe spaces. Like for me, it was the mountains, going out in the mountains. Somebody else at Summit, something else, but you're very intentional about finding yourself in those spaces. Blankets, wrapping.
I love blankets, obviously.
So wrapping in blankets definitely can help the body. And then creating goals. Yeah. Reaching, setting those small goals. Yeah. And there, laughter. Laughter, having laughter and having fun are actually super powerful. When you're in a trauma, it feels like the last thing you want to do, but you need to go and do those things. Yeah. Like put yourself in those spaces that your body can connect to the chemicals of what you're trying to release in your body, which is those happy chemicals. Yeah.
Well, I love the fight like hell for peace and joy, because I think that's a good reminder when you're in that space and you feel like you have nothing left. It's like, well, you're fighting for future you, and you're fighting for like future you to feel peaceful and happy. Right. And that when I was kind of in that place, I remember people love or hate Friends. I love the show Friends. And I actually found it way more helpful. Like when I just felt like I had no energy, I didn't want to be social, being able to turn on a show that genuinely made me laugh was really impactful.
Okay. And I love that you said that, because sometimes it's purposely going to a comedy show. It is finding that show that makes you laugh. And even if you can't laugh at that time, your body's still connecting into it. Yeah. Okay. So you had talked about community. Community and mentors are super powerful in the healing process. So making sure you surround yourself either like with your own friends, but it can also be community of something you've experienced. So say, let's just use the example of someone was sexually assaulted, that you can find a community that is a good support system for that. So it's finding your people, your community, your mentors, super powerful. Because sometimes in trauma, we want to withdraw, but we want to try to fight that. All of these things are so intentional. Like our body sometimes does not want to do it. But like you said, we're fighting for our future selves. Not only our future selves, but the future people who are going to be in our world. Yeah. I remember like when I was in my worst states, I would purposely say to myself, Kelli, look around you. There's so much beyond this moment. There's so much beyond maybe someone who intentionally hurt you, you know, because all of our stories, a lot of times there are other people involved in our stories of why we're hurt, right? And we're not going to give that power to those people. So I'm like, I'm taking my power, and there's so many amazing things in this world that I still have not experienced. So many people I have not met. You know, I have kids, I have grandkids. Like I'm fighting for all of those things. Yeah. And I'm fighting for my own path and not a trauma, and nobody else will define what that is. Wow. With that though, it takes a lot of work, and you have to be super intentional about doing it. Yeah.
No, Kelli, this has been, I think, one of the most important conversations we have ever had on 20 something. I think that not only have you provided ways to identify, you know, this trauma, which I'm still mind blown that trauma isn't a car accident and it's just these everyday things that we deal with. But then being able to take these small steps to actively rewire your brain and the way that you think and behave to create like this stable.
Well, the intriguing thing about it is if you look at the science of what the healing tools are, they're actually pretty everyday normal tools. It's journaling, it's having fun, it's dancing, it's exercising. Yes. It's sleep, it's mentors, community. It's like, it's genuinely just normal everyday tools, minus the therapy of going maybe to do some specialized trauma therapy. But for the most part, it's all accessible around us. It's just knowing how to apply it. And I like, in the book, I give the science behind each one, because I think it's important for individuals to understand the why. Like, why is that working in your body? Yes. What is the science behind it? Yeah.
Creates longevity there, where you're like, okay, I can keep doing this since I understand the why of it. Yeah. Yeah. So Kelli, parting words of advice.
Yes. Go to therapy.
Yes. Real.
Start there. To be patient with the process. This is a lifelong journey, and we will always be trying to refine and find the greatest joy. I'm always like, with life, we're always trying to find peace and joy. Like for me, that is like what we're trying to do. And when we're feeling out of balance of that, something needs to shift or something needs to be refined in our life. So to me, that's a marker. If I'm not feeling at peace, I'm not feeling joy, why? And what do I need to change to bring that back in? And then, so I would focus on, don't live a life that's not filled with joy and peace. We have so much more control over that. Definitely start analyzing where you feel triggered and start questioning it. Be brave enough to put the tools to change it. We don't have to be this is just who I am.
Yeah. Kelli, thank you so much for being here. I mean, the very actionable things that you've taught me and everybody here in this hour or so, I know that comes with so many years of work and studying. And everybody go buy Walk With Me. It is one of the most beautiful, impactful books I have ever read.
Thanks.
And
the workbook's
coming out with a workbook.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
That so follows exciting. All of this, has journaling in it, action items.
I will be buying that. Items. I will be purchasing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That was amazing, Kelli. Wow.
You did a great job.
No, you are amazing. Like amazing. The way, like I seriously feel like my mind was just blown so much.